Perry Bigelow was the first Sadiq that I really sat down and interviewed in the course of 3 years of research for Kingdom Calling. He's a home builder, owner of Bigelow Homes in suburban Chicago. He's now retired, and his son runs Bigelow Homes. But the reason I traveled to Chicago to sit down with Perry Bigelow was because as I did research, I realized that here was a Christ follower who understood that his calling vocationally was to build houses and to build neighborhoods. Those are his goods that he produces. He produces houses and neighborhoods. And he was someone who had literally spent years trying to mine the scriptures for questions about what does God have to say to a guy like me who builds houses and neighborhoods. And what he discovered was that there's a lot in the scripture that sort of says, this is the kind of neighborhood that God would build. He said, there's all this great stuff in the Bible about what a healthy neighborhood would look like. And one of his favorite passages comes from Zechariah 8, where it talks about how God is going to renew the city of Jerusalem and how children will play safely in the streets and the old people will kind of hang out yakking with each other. And there's this vision of beautiful community. And so Perry has taken that vision very seriously. And he builds, I got to walk around one of the neighborhoods, actually a neighborhood for which he earned Builder of the Year award, which is the single greatest award that you can get if you're a real estate developer, home builder. And the streets are deliberately very narrow, and they got speed bumps in them because he wants kids to be able to play safely in the streets. The sidewalks are extra large, extra wide. Every house has a front porch on it so that people can kind of talk to each other. There's all sorts of green space. There's fountains. There's little gazebos and places to sit down because he wants people to be able to kind of intermingle. And probably most importantly, he has a philosophy called Heterogeneous Compact Development. What that means is, in contrast to the way that a good bit of suburban real estate development is done, in a conventional way, a developer might look at a big parcel of land, and I'm going to make the numbers up here because I'm not a real estate developer, so I don't really know, but let's just pretend that there's 500 acres of land and the developer gets it. Well, a more conventional model in the suburbs would be to say, okay, I've got this 500-acre plot of land, I'm going to put 200 houses on it, and they're all going to be fairly big houses, and they're all going to have fairly big yards. And because all the houses are fairly similar, the price points for the homes aren't very wide-ranging. And that means that you pretty much get the same economic class of people that moves in, because you get everybody who can basically afford homes that are in this sort of price range. And typically, because the homes are big, you typically get families. So you get sort of upper middle class families who have children, and children want yards to run around in and swing sets to play on and all of that sort of thing. Well, Perry said, what if we took 500 acres of land, and instead of building the same size houses on big lots, what if we had some big houses on big lots? What if we had some ranch-style, one-level houses with little postage square lawns where older people would want to live, where the dad says, you know what, I'm done with that whole mowing the lawn thing. Like, I'm 70 years old, I ain't doing that no more, right? And young yuppie-type people, I see a lot of yuppies out here, who would say, I want to live kind of in a loft-type space, and I want to have my little creative business on the bottom. So he created, houses for that. He created large homes that are not real fancy, so that they could be affordable for the teachers and the firemen and the police officers. And then there are also some large, very well done, granite countertops and the whole fancy thing for those that could afford those. And as a result, his neighborhoods are much more diverse. And he puts maybe 300 houses on 500 acres of land. And that means there's more individual property tax-paying units in the same amount of land. Well, that makes the city government really happy, because the more property tax-paying units you have in a particular, place, the more money is coming in to municipal coffers. And the more money that comes into municipal coffers, the more you have to spend on firemen and police officers and teachers and schools and good roads. So Perry, although he's retired, technically, he's actually a pretty busy guy because he keeps getting asked to speak all over the country to all these city managers and mayors and different groups like that who are saying, wow, like tell us more about this heterogeneous compact development model and how could we get more of our developers to be involved in this kind of work.